Jai Baba. Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. All else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba to all of you, and thanks to our beloved Lord Meher Baba for bringing us together once again.
It is through the connection between cause and effect in the world of values that the moral order of the universe is sustained. If the laws of karma were to be subject to any relaxation, there would be no moral order in the universe, and without moral order, human existence would be impossible.
See, Baba says elsewhere in discourses that even small business enterprises, they have their own laws. Even in the family, we have our laws. At home, who will speak and who will listen? Why are you laughing? So we all have laws, even in such a small unit of a family, even if it's a family of two, you have certain rules, certain laws. So is it not uh, absolutely essential that when the entire universe is created, there has to be certain laws? So the law that we are talking about here is connected with the moral values, the so-called right and wrong, so-called good and bad, so-called vice and virtues. And so Baba has instituted a very, very leak-proof, sound-proof sort of, where there cannot be any manipulation. And that law is the law of karma. Law of karma is absolutely precise, absolutely unfaltering, meticulous. There is no loophole where you can escape. So why we are emphasizing too much on the law of karma is law of karma is a reflection of the law of cause and effect, but it has a moral implication. It has to do with your morals. The law of cause and effect, we all know there are so many laws. Law of, let's say, gravity. If you fall, then it will, the apple falls from up to down and all that stuff. So here, why I am emphasizing law of karma over and over again at several forums is once we have absolute, complete, wholehearted, what should I say, trust, conviction that the law of karma cannot be corrupted. There can be no corruption in the law of karma. It is perfect. Then automatically, whatever we are going through cannot, we cannot go through unless and until there is a cause to that going through. In other words, whatever we are going through is an effect or the result or the fruit of something we have done in the past. I may remember it, I may not remember it. I may have done it consciously, may have done it unconsciously, but the results come perfect. So once whatever we are experiencing, we understand that that is a result, that is the effect, that is the fruit of the seed which I have sown sometime in the past, then immediately and automatically the blame game stops. Immediately and automatically the acceptance comes, and immediately and automatically you shift from the problem to the solution. So this law is so immaculate, so perfect. So Baba says here, it is through the connection between cause and effect in the world of values that the moral order of the universe is sustained. The moral order of the universe is sustained through the operation of the law of karma. Many times we feel, "Arey, bichare ko kya ho gaya?" So some tsunami, some building collapse, some bus overturning, some air, flight getting a crash, or some, fire in the air, and we feel, "Arey, poor." That yes, we do empathize with them, but at the same time, according to my understanding of the law of karma, this is all a result or the effect of something that you have done in the past. People are born crippled, people are born blind, people are born with all kinds of deformities. Why would God do such a thing if the God that we believe in is love personified? If the God that we believe in is 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 uh, is no is just then he's a just God. He gives justice. So where is the justice when that poor fellow who is born blind or born maimed? Why? Automatically it shows that something that particular soul has done in the past for which this is the effect. It is not a punishment because our God, or for that matter any God, is never ever a punishing God. He is a very just God. In fact, He is very merciful. Whatever we may have done, it is buffered, or it is, it is like a spring that it is cushioned, buffered by His will, by His mercy. I am reminded of a story which Adi Kaka had said, Adi K. Irani. Uh, he narrated this story in one of our sessions in the Bombay Center. He used to attend quite frequently at the Bombay Center. He used to come to Bombay for work related matters and also something to do with court cases when he had to attend certain courts. So you can imagine a person who has spent his entire life with Baba had to attend court. For that matter, even Upasni Maharaj had to go to court for something. Even Narayan Maharaj had to go to court for something. But that means, of course, they had to go for a different reason. But Adi Kaka had to go for some. So he used to attend to our Sunday meetings at the center. And he narrated this story that amongst certain faith, it is felt, it is believed that there is only one life and only one death, one birth and one death. And when I say last, it means one of the last sessions, we did see that what is exactly meant by one birth and one death. We have explained that Baba has beautifully explained that in reality there is one birth and one death. This is not the birth or death, this is just changing of the course, changing of the bubble that way. So Adi is saying the story and I think it was Baba who narrated it, but I'm not too sure about it. That it is believed by many that there is going to be one day of Qayamat Kadi, day of justice. And what is that day of justice? Lord would be sitting on his day of judgment, when he would be sitting on his royal throne, the high throne, and all the people who have died, they'll all be, huge area of people, and one by one they would just be passing by. And as they are passing by, God would judge everybody based on what you have done, the so-called sins and the so-called virtues that you have committed on earth. And then he would direct you either to go to hell or to go to heaven. Tak, 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 that is the belief. So that day has come, the day of judgment has come, and Lord is sitting on his chair, and big judgment day. Yes, there's a big crowd. Big means huge crowd. And then as God was dispensing, here, go there, there is somebody from quite far off, he's shouting at the top of his voice. He's raising his finger. They did not have this digital hand at that time. So he's raising his finger and shouting, Mr. God, Mr. God. And obviously God gets distracted and he just sees, what is happening? Who is it? So he says, who is it? Oh, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, that way. He said, okay. He says, God, I have a question to ask you. Now, of course, in the midst of all this happening, God is saying, okay, go ahead, shout out, And of course, God is old, as you know. So he had to do this, to listen. These are all adding of mirchi masala. Huh? So God is saying, okay, shout loud, shout loud. What is it that you are asking? So he said that, God, I have heard that you are a very just God. That means you dispense justice without any favor, without anything. The God is saying like this, yes, everybody, he is looking around to his ministers, who are helping him with justice, and he says, yes, what you heard is quite true. What you heard is quite right. I am a very, very just God. I give justice. Then after some time again, he is shouting, Mr. God, Mr. God. God is saying, now what? Now what do you want to ask? I have one more question. Okay, speak up, speak loudly, speak loudly. So he said, I have also heard, God, that you are very merciful. Then he very with a very benign smile, he says, yes, I am very merciful. And then again goes on here, there, everywhere. Again, after a minute or so, again he's shouting, Mr. God, Mr. God. So what is it now? What is it? Why are you disturbing the gathering and all that? I'll ask one last question. He said, okay, what is it? I want to know whether you are more just or you are more merciful. Now, God is trapped, he is trapped. Now he is scratching his head. Now, what should I say? Merciful or I am just? Then, of course, he's all knowing, he's all wise. So God says, I am more merciful. The moment God says, I am more merciful, that fellow starts talking about all the sins that he had committed. Blah, 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 blah. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done. He's saying, and God says, shut up, you are forgiven. You are forgiven. In other words, okay. After that, Adi says, the fellow next to him says, अरे ये तो कमाल हो गया यार, इतना पाप किया, इतना खून किया, इतने खराबी किया, और बाबा ने यानी भगवान ने माफ कर दिया. So he also wanted to raise his hands, and a third person says no. That was his faith in the mercy of the Lord that has given him this forgiveness. In other words, what I'm trying to convey is, even though there is the operation of the law of karma, if Baba wishes, he can grant us his grace of forgiving us from all the sins that we have done. Not only that, but he can even grant us the grace of liberation. Liberation is mukti. Because we all know that the dominion means the authority. The dominion of the law of karma is the domain. Domain means the arena, the extent, the domain of duality. I'll repeat, these are not Baba's words. I have somehow coined it because of the dominion and all that. The dominion of the law of karma is the domain of duality. In other words, as long as we are in the domain of duality, of illusion, of ignorance, of Maya, then as long as we are in that, we are governed by the law of karma. The moment we go beyond that, the law of karma does not apply to us. It does not apply. And that is why those masters, for example, masters, they may do anything, but they are not bound because they do not have any karma. That is why people on the subtle and the mental plane, they are governed by the law of karma, belonging or pertaining to that plane. So in other words, somebody in the mental plane does some action. Action means gross action. Those actions do not bind him because he has already superseded, or he has already gone beyond the gross. So that is what I wanted to convey to you, that in whichever plane that you are, whichever sphere, gross, and that is why Baba said, that we belong, or majority of us belong, to the gross plane, which means our samskaras are predominantly gross, which means we are held responsible and accountable for the gross actions. We are not held responsible and accountable for the thoughts that we get, or the feelings or the emotions, as long as we do not translate those thoughts, feelings, emotions into action. So we are responsible, and we should have vigilance or control over actions, because actions are those that will bind us more, because we belong to the world of action. We are belonging to the gross world. And that is why if you want to change anything, if you want to alter anything, Baba says start with action. If you are greedy, start with action, giving charity or whatever, something like that. If you are lusty, start with action, giving love, pure, unadulterated love. If you have the samskaras of anger, then start showing, angry, opposite of anger is what? Consideration, tolerance, forgiveness, and stuff like that. So, in other words, Baba says, start with action. The point where you have to start is action, because we belong to the domain of action. Now, again, we start reading Baba's beautiful words. It is through the connection between the cause and effect in the world of values that the moral order of the universe is sustained. The moral order of the universe is sustained, howsoever different or apparently opposite it may appear in our limited, finite, blinker related, thinking. We might think that I am doing such a good thing, but why am I suffering? There are people doing good things which are suffering. There are people who are doing so-called bad things who are enjoying life. It is not so. It is only a very minuscule, finite, temporary vision which you are utilizing in order to judge what the other person is going. We never know what the other person will have to go through because of those actions. Uh, Reading further, if the laws of karma were to be subject to any relaxation, there is no relaxation, there is no moratorium, there is no chalo aisa hua to baad mein karenge, no. It is very, very precise, meticulous. The only thing that is above the law is Baba's grace, because Baba is beyond the domain of duality, and that which is beyond the domain of duality, including all the perfect masters, then that grace may descend on anybody. And if it descends, it shatters all of the illusory law. Law is in illusion. Remember that. Law belongs to the shadow. Baba is the reality. Many people do ask, how come that you are doing so many bad, somebody is doing so many bad things and the grace will befall? And because grace is coming from the truth. And whatever we have been doing is doing in the shadow. But as long as we are in the shadow, in the domain of illusion, we have to accept the consequences of our own doing. It's only a matter of accepting consequences. Coming back to the reading, if the laws of karma were to be subject to any relaxation, there would be no moral order in the universe. You might say, but there is no moral order in the universe. But in fact, this is my understanding based on Baba's reading, that moral order is always being maintained, howsoever apparent it may appear that there is no moral order, for the simple reason that when you take a larger picture, a whole picture of what is happening, then we realize that people are suffering, millions are suffering today. You may say for no fault of theirs, but how do we know that they were not the ones who had done so much of atrocities and so many so-called wrong things in their past life or several past lives? We really do not know. And that is why I started with saying that we must have an absolute anchorage. Anchorage means we should be completely anchored in the firm belief and conviction that there is a law which is called the law of karma, and its operation is absolutely perfect. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of, we might feel that, oh, as I said, somebody is doing so many wrong things and he's always enjoying, but that is not the case. That is because our vision is very narrow. It's like, what is it called?
Myopic.
Myotic. Okay.
Myopic.
Okay. Very, very, the tunnel vision, like tunnel vision. You are only seeing this much. You do not see the left and right of it. That's why we say this. And without moral order, human existence would be impossible. So here we finished one small paragraph. Now we go on to any questions on this? Any questions to understand this? Fine. So we go on to the next.
People should look upon physical and mental suffering as gifts from God. They bring their own lessons of the futility of the passing and of the intrinsic worth of the eternal. Accepted with grace and understood in their very root cause, they chasten the soul and introduce it to the abiding happiness of truth.
See here, this is more or less an extension of what we just did about the law of karma. People should look upon physical and mental suffering. We all go through some kind of suffering, physical, emotional, mental. Why do we go through suffering? Baba says that 99% of our suffering is self-created. Self-created means created by our own actions through ignorance in the past. So in other words, whatever suffering that we are going through is nothing but the operation of the law of karma, which is in other words nothing but the operation of God's will. We have done this before, that Baba says, my will is law. That means everything that is happening by God's will, because it is happening through the operation of the law of karma. So Baba says here, people should look upon physical and mental suffering as gifts from God. We have to accept it as gifts from God. Why? Because it is a gift which is given to us through the will of God, which means through the operation of the law of karma, which means it is given to us as an opportunity to square up or to balance out our past karma. It is so logical and it is so understandable that whatever suffering that I am going through, if I accept it as a gift from God, which means what? It has happened because God willed it. In other words, what? It has happened because of the operation of the law of karma. In other words, what? It has come to me in order to balance out my past karma. See, logically, if you go through formula, it simply means that it is nothing but an operation given to us as an opportunity to square off our past karma. Now, this opportunity, we have to grab it and make good use of it so that that pichla karma, the age ka karma, pehle ka karma gets eradicated. But what do most of us do? We don't do that. We don't do intelligently this exercise. Instead, we start blaming. We start, I am a victim of circumstances. I don't deserve this case. I don't deserve this treatment. Blah, blah, blah. I blame somebody else for what I'm going through. Again, and in other words, if I do not accept it as a gift from God, if I do not accept it as a result of my past karma, I do not accept it as an opportunity given to me to square off and balance out my past karma. If I don't do this, then I am actually sowing the seeds of further karma in the same lot, in the same group. I hope I am making myself clear. So every suffering is an opportunity of growth. It is like a springboard from which we can grow up and up and up through proper understanding. So many people say, oh, I am suffering. So it is so nice because Baba says, I love people who suffer more. Though if you suffer more, then I love it. There is a logic behind it. There is a very rationale behind it. And rationale is that we must make optimum positive use of that suffering in knowing the real cause of that suffering and removing that suffering from cause rather than removing it from effect. And rather than many people even do tit for tat, oh, he made me suffer because of this, I'll do something again, do the same thing to the other person. And that means you have lost the opportunity and you have again sown the seeds of further wrongdoing. There is that nice episode which I read or heard somewhere. This was about Upasni Maharaj. I'm sure I have narrated it several times, but doesn't matter. One fine day, we all know Upasni Maharaj. He was a Jalali. Jalali means, hot-tempered, beating everybody, abusing everybody, breaking things in the ashram and all that. So one fine day, some 2 or 3 boys were just gallivanting nearby. So for no reason, no apparent reason, Upasni Maharaj bashed them up, left, right, and center. He just bashed them up, And they were young boys. They had no understanding of spirituality. They do not know that when a bashing comes or a ridicule comes or something, gussa comes from a great man, from a perfect man, perfect master, it is such a blessing that they are actually removing so many of our karmas. It's a great, great blessing actually. So what happened? They were determined कि ये बुढ़ा ने हमको मारा है ना, हम बराबर उनका revenge लेंगे. So one fine day, Upasni Maharaj was going somewhere alone. He was all alone. So these 3 boys, tied Upasni Maharaj to a tree and gave him a severe bashing and ran away. Now see, Upasni Maharaj is a perfect master. Like this, he could have stopped them from doing it. But most of the masters allow things to happen in a natural way. They do not intervene in the natural operations of the law. So obviously the disciples then came and saw that Upasni Maharaj is tied to the tree and all that. So of course they untied. Pucha Maharaj, kai zala hai? What happened? What happened actually? So Maharaj says, what can I do? I wanted to give them some, gift, means some goodness, In other words, what was the gift? The gift was to remove so many of their karmas. तो वो लोग को पचा, वो लोग को पसंद नहीं आया, तो वो लोग ने return कर दिया. Means I gave them some bait, and it was not to their liking, and so they returned that gift to me. In other words, the bashing was equated, and so what can I do? I wanted to benefit them, but they did not want that benefit. They returned it to me. So coming back to our reading now. Okay. People should look upon physical and mental suffering as gifts from God. Many people don't understand that why would God give suffering to somebody if God is a loving God, if God is a merciful God, if God is a forgiving God, why would He give such a gift? But the understanding is when we understand what is the meaning of gifts of God, what is the meaning of will of God, what is the meaning of effect of the cause which I have done in the past. It simply means that I must grab that opportunity of so-called suffering and use it as a platform for growth by understanding its intricacies. If we don't understand, then we are repeating the same cycle again and again. So Baba says, they bring their own lessons of the futility of the passing. The moment when we suffer too much, we automatically we understand now if somebody is on ventilator, let's say COVID or whatever. There is a lesson which, oh my God, I have wasted my time running after money. I've wasted my time doing this. I've wasted my time on the futility of the passing. It is so futile to waste our time on something which is passing, something which is impermanent, something which is transient, something which is there today but is not going to be there tomorrow. Why would I waste my lifetime on that? So that realization comes only when you are into some kind of deep suffering, when you introspect, when you self reflect, when you go within yourself and try to find answers. My God, now I am at the fag end of my journey, so called journey of life. And what have I achieved? What have I gained? I've just been running after girls, or running after money, or running after cars, or running after houses. And what have I got in return? They bring their own lessons of the futility of the passing, which means just passing, and of the intrinsic worth of the eternal. Then we realize that what is the intrinsic worth of the eternal? That I am here today on this beautiful Mother Earth with only one purpose. And that purpose is to get to know who am I. And that purpose is forget about the logical, the intellectual aspect of who am I and I am God and all that. The purpose is, as Baba says, the aim of life is to love God, and the goal of life is to become one with God. Everything else is okay. खाना बनाया, खाना पकाया, नौकरी किया, business किया, घर बनाया, दो गाड़ी लिया थी, whatever. These are all ancillary things. The most crucial, most important, most potent aspect of each one of us, our being, is to constantly and wholeheartedly remember Baba and hope. See, any which way we are going to die, today or tomorrow, that is certain. Today, if somebody I get, let's say I'm talking about myself, if I get so-called COVID-19 positive, what is the end result? The end result would be I would be dropping my body. What is the benefit? I'm not talking about myself, I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about any sickness. The benefit is that we get an doctor will say abhi 24 ghanta, yeah, 48 hours, yeah, something like that. What is the benefit? In those 48 hours we can really employ in tying our loose ends, whatever it is, in only remembering God, because now the opportunity is given to us to remember Baba. I would personally feel that if somebody is given this, ultimatum, कि Baba ये अभी 10 घंटे का मेहमान है, something like that. It is such a, I would say, joyous opportunity for each one of us to understand, चलो लाइफ टाइम में याद नहीं किया तो कम से कम ये 10 घंटा तो मैं बाबा को याद करता हूँ, so that it's a, I would say it's a bonus, I would say it's a lottery. If at all somebody goes through that, it's a lottery. Because instead of praying, I'm sorry, I might sound a little heartless, instead of praying please God save that soul, अरे save that soul means चलो बच भी गया तो 2 साल के बाद 20 साल के बाद तो वो मरने वाला ही है ना, वो बॉडी छोड़ने वाला ही है ना. So our prayer should be, Baba, do whatever you feel is best for that soul. Our prayer should be, Baba, please help him or her to remember you when he or she breathes his or her last. So that should be our prayer, because we pray for, all kinds of things, बचेगा तो चलो बच भी गया, प्रेयर किया तो बच गया, तो बच के कितना, he is not going to live for 1,000 years. You getting my point? It's not being heartless, because I sound sometimes like that. But the important thing is what I have come here for, what have I achieved so far, and how do I shift my pathway so that I would say, you feel that you have actually fulfilled your role of what you have come here for. So you like, I remember that beautiful film of Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, where he uses the word, that his life is accomplished when Jesus apparently dropped his body on the cross. He never died on the cross. We all know that Baba said that he entered Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and then he was without consciousness, and he was taken by two of his disciples somewhere, and then they settled in Kashmir. That's not the point. The point is that at the time of before he just drops his head, he thanks God and says, "My life is accomplished." That means what? He had come to take upon himself the suffering of humanity, and through the process of crucifixion, his life has been accomplished. So in the same way, each one of us should get this feeling or of opportunity to say, thank you, Baba. My coming here in this body has been accomplished. That means one feels that we have done what, forget about all that you have done in the past, all the so-called rotten things we may have done, but these rotten, ugly, vulgar, dirty, filthy, sinful things that we may have done in the past, they all remain in the domain of illusion, in the domain of shadows, in the domain of absolutely non-existent. Don't worry, don't give it a damn thought about it. What is important from now to future? What are we going to do to see that our life is accomplished? And the easiest, I always say, easiest, safest, surest, quickest way to do that is to have constant, wholehearted remembrance of Meher Baba. So that when the time comes, we can joyfully, with a smile, say, "Wow, Baba, thank you so much. My life is accomplished. Please accept me on the other side." And He will. He will with open arms. You know, they bring their own lessons of the futility of the passing. Futility, you understand, it has no sense, no meaning, no nothing. Of the passing and the intrinsic worth of the eternal. Eternal is the soul, eternal is the self, eternal is I, the real I. That has got intrinsic worth. Accepted with grace. We have to accept all the suffering with grace. No complaint, no brooding, no weeping, no wailing, no whining. Okay, no whine you can have. Okay, no whining. Okay, no whining. So you're accepted with grace, and this is a very important sentence, and understood in their very root cause. That is what I was harping at. We must understand suffering in their very root cause. What is the root cause of the suffering? Because if there is no cause, there can be no effect. The effect is the suffering. That means there has to be somewhere a cause. So we have to understand the cause of it. And understood in the very root cause, they chasten the soul. Chasten the soul means they purify the soul. Chakmak, ghiske, chakachak bolte hai na. They make it pure. They make it look very shining. They purify, they chasten the soul and introduce it to the abiding. Abiding means for all time, perpetual, perennial, non-stop, without a break, without a halt, happiness of truth. In other words, suffering can be used as a modus operandi, as a methodology, as a system of giving us eternal happiness of the truth if we use the platform of that suffering with spiritual intelligence or spiritual maturity. So here end the second paragraph. If there is anything to be asked, do ask.
Cyrus, firstly, when you're saying that it is our karma, now I get a little confused here because
So nice.
suppose there are two. Suppose me and Jani, for example, okay, we both believe in Baba, and we're both listening to our way of understanding what Baba's state is. Now, when you say this is your karma, suppose for him his understanding is okay. I'm going to be mean to you. I'm going to be do what I want to do to you because that's your karma. Cyrus only said that's your karma. You have to.
I mean that. Sorry.
So how because sometimes it's a convenience of an individual to so this always confuses me because I've seen even many people do that in Baba's name say that, oh, it is your your karma. Baba's only said it. You've got to suffer, so you will suffer. And it's not like they don't believe in Baba, but sometimes they don't understand. So then, how is it all my karmas only? What about their karmas or anyone else's for that matter? I don't know if I'm getting the question.
Yeah. When we talk about the law of karma, it is so intertwined, So, for all you know, if I'm just extending to what you said. If Jamie is creating situations which is giving you, say, suffering, in short, right? Then,
Heartburns.
sorry,
Heartburns.
okay, heartburn, whatever it is, yeah. So whatever, In my understanding, Jamie is creating fresh karmas for himself by inflicting a kind of suffering on you. Again, my understanding. And for all you know, it must be in your lot, in your karma, to go through a certain suffering, through X or through Y or through Z or whatever way, and you are just going through. Now, what will depend, how do you take that suffering, will determine whether you are winding fresh. What happens to you is not important. How you respond to that, what is happening to you, will determine whether what is happening to you has been a matter of grace to you, so that you are able to eradicate that, or you are reacting to it and creating further samskaras or karmas.
Okay.
Getting what I'm saying? It's very fine tuned, and I know that somebody can take an advantage of that. But if they think that they are taking advantage of that, actually it is of disadvantage to them itself.
Okay.
See, I may be just, under the guise of inflicting pain and suffering on somebody else. Under the guise that this is your law of karma. You are suffering, you are suffering because it is in your lot. And I am just playing a role of giving you a suffering. So, but that doesn't mean that I am off the law of karma. I also have, that means for me, that is a cause. For you, it may be an effect. But for me, it's a cause for which there will be an effect later on in life. But as long as you are concerned, we are going to talk in terms of one individual, about you, for example. It all depends upon how you take it and how you respond to it. Suffering, as I always say, is an interpretation of what you are going through. You may go through sort of hell, and yet you may find heaven in hell, Like Baba says, that you, even in the jaws of the lion, you may be happy. It all depends upon how you interpret what things are happening to you. Am I making
Yes.
sense? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Anybody else?
No, most of the context I was trying to bring out is that most of the time for our mental suffering or for things like depression or things like alcoholism or any such mental kind of problems, people are always telling you, think positive. It is your thinking that is making you so. It is your personality or your attitude towards life. So in that sense, is it like, that because of the personality that one is suffering in that context, Baba says?
Yes. And even personality is determined by your karmas only, no? Ultimately, it boils down to that. Why is it that some person are very angry, or some person are very emotional, some person are very happy-go-lucky? Because of karma. Correct. But you can change it. So what you are saying is very true, that alcoholism or some kind of mental suffering or anxiety or depression is all connected with your own erroneous interpretation of things.
But then the society expects you to, condemns you to, and says that it is your fault, that is what I'm trying to understand.
Rise above.
No, the society may say you cannot change the society. You can only change yourself, isn't it? Yourself in the sense, just don't bother about what society says. That's about all. That's what can. See, the point is, we are so much concerned about what others are saying or what others are doing. We need to be first focused on ourselves. So in other words, what everybody goes through, Dilshad, in short, is a result of their own past karma. In short, we can go into intricacies of individual case and all that. It doesn't matter. The bottom line, the larger framework is that we are what we today. What I am today, what you are, is a consolidated mold of the samskaras of the from the time you were separated from the ocean till now. It's a group of consolidation of the soul, right? So of the karmas. Okay. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Welcome, dear. Anybody else?
Yes, Dinku.
Yes, Dinku. Go ahead, Dinku.
Sorry, coming back to the same topic, if
Yes.
somebody is the cause of your suffering, and as you said, that person is taking on creating more karma for themselves.
Yes.
But at the same time, because are they in a way instrumental in helping you to negate your
Yes. Yes.
things?
Yes.
So in
Absolutely.
that, so does that
Absolutely.
not sort of counterbalance their own karma that they are creating?
Well, it all depends upon whether they are creating fresh karmas or they are responding to some past karma. Supposing in the past you have harassed your somebody, and that somebody is now getting even with you. That means for both of you, it's an equalization of past karma. But supposing it is not, you have not done anything to that person, you had done it to somebody else. But all of a sudden somebody else is doing it to you, then for you it's an equalization of past, and for him it's an opening of a new chapter. This is how I understand.
Okay, thanks.
Got it?
And one
Yeah.
more thing, can I ask? Is there such a thing as collective karma? Because, like
I
as you
was
said,
told,
right,
yes. I was told
in the
that yes.
case of air crashes or
Yes.
something. So
That
these
all those,
people,
we have given this nomenclature called collective karma. Basically, in Baba's literature, it is there that all those people who have similar karmas, they get together in a certain fashion, and then all those people get, liquidated. The karmas are liquidated by the overturning of the bus or by the, blowing up of the airplane or whatever that is. Yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, dear.
Okay, one more question towards what I was asking you. Now, when you said that this is the karmas are my karmas and I have to go through it. Now, while going through it, sometimes, you talk to friends, you talk to family, you talk to lots of people and you get lots of suggestions, what to do, what not to do. How do you know that the decision that you've taken is the right and it doesn't add or bind you to more karmas?
First of all, there is no right, there is no wrong. Number one. Number two, you take an action and you bogofy the consequences. That's about all. The only thing is, if this is the right food or the wrong food, you will only know after eating it what is the reaction to it. So there is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. The only way to do it is, first and foremost, try to establish a contact or the connection with your real self, the I, which is nothing but Baba. You call it a voice of conscience, the inner voice, the guiding voice, the whatever you call it, the intuition, whatever you may call it. First thing is you make that connection strong and faultless, because many times the mind may masquerade as that voice of God or voice of conscience and create a whole lot of mess in our life. First thing is connection, and number two is faith in that voice, that whatever my voice will say, I will do. And number three, ask the voice and do whatever the voice tells you. These are the steps 1, 2, 3. 100 different people will say 100 different things. It will only create confusion. By that, I don't mean to say that you don't have to take counsel or advice from somebody else. I don't mean to say that. But do ask 100 people, but do what your heart feels. In fact, Baba himself had said so many times in so many savasis that just don't do it because I am telling you. Of course, Baba is a different matter. But Baba himself said, I am telling you this, but then you do whatever your heart feels like doing. Because ultimately, if that particular soul has to go through a certain trauma or ups and downs in life, then in spite of the fact that so many people give you a very very immaculate, very perfect counsel, still you will do something which will make you go through that up and down, because that up and down was necessary for your growth. So that is why in that sense there is no right, there is no wrong.
Jai Baba. Thank you.
Jai Babaji. Anything else? Anybody else?
I had a question regarding karma. When you were discussing karma, फिर उसके बाद इतना सारा layers ऊपर आ गया.
Okay, go ahead.
You know when you're discussing that about karma, that then the fresh new karma is built. When you said that, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't understand that part.
Okay. I myself don't know what I said, but I'm just trying to. The point is that at every given moment of time, moment, which is called the eternal now or the present moment, we are either binding ourselves more and more, or we are freeing ourselves from the whole lot of past karmas. That's number one. Number two, what I said was that if somebody is misbehaving with us, ill-treating us, you can't take it as, you can't be a footstool or a doormat or something like that, rug, let somebody climb over you. Yes, you have to be assertive at times. I'm not saying that, no. But understand that you may be a cause of some person treating you like that. There's a very beautiful statement which says, you get treated in life the way you teach people to treat you. And if you do not like the way you are being treated by them, then you must teach them otherwise. That means you must teach them. Many people have this experience that I am treated very, very, very badly or very rubbishly at home, at workplace, in my society, in my friend circle, in my blah, 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 which means you are having something in you which is reflecting to them a message, treat me like this. Am I making sense? If it is at one place, I can understand, but if somebody is treated like this at all places, that means somewhere you are sort of, giving a very silent or even a very audible message to them that please treat me like this. And if you don't like that treatment, then you have to change that. But that was not what you asked. What you asked was A is treating B badly. So in other words, I am not the judge. I am not qualified to say whether A is liquidating his or her karma by treating you badly, because that A was treated badly by you in earlier life. And so he is giving you tit for tat and everything is over. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So that I do not know whether it is what should I say, a corresponding or a responding entry. It is responding to some earlier karma, or you are opening up fresh karma. For all you know, I may require a certain treatment. That means for me, if I accept that treatment, like Baba said, with grace, with understanding, and not responding, and using that as a platform for my growth, then it is balancing out my karma. Right? But for the other person, it could be a balancing also. That means you have treated that other person badly. So it's a balancing karma. Or it could be an originating entry for him or her, and he has to suffer that in the future. That we cannot know. Whether any entry, it's a responding entry or an originating entry. That's what I was trying to say. Is that clear, or is that what you wanted, or something else?
No, I'm still not very clear. But I'll go back to the recording and go back to that same spot and then ask you.
Okay.
But somebody else is doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, do ask me. His question was that there are certain faiths, certain institutions, certain religious thought that if you give a certain percentage of you are supposed to give a certain percentage of your earning in charity. So what have you got to say about it? My understanding is that if the basic platform is, if you are doing this out of fear, if you are doing this out of an ulterior motive, that I am giving 100 rupees and I will get back 1000 rupees, then the purpose is lost. But if you are doing it out of your graciousness, out of your gratitude to God, that there are so many people who are deprived of so many things, whereas I am so fortunate to be having everything. So out of grace, out of gratitude, I feel I would just like to give some portion of my earning in charity. Either it may be an institute, it may be a church, or it may be an individual, but out of that graciousness that I've got enough, let me also give something to somebody. So in other words, the giving per se is not right or wrong, good or bad, but the intent or the intention behind giving makes all the difference. That is what I feel, that if that answers Rakesh's question, then it's fine. Because Baba had himself said, that your service, or whatever you give, it should be such that there should be no tom-tomming about it. Just do it with a gracious, happy heart. Not because somebody has to give. Many times, people come at the door for donation, ye donation, and you just want to shoo them off, So you give some 10, 20 rupees, jaane do na, to ghanti marte rahega. So that should not be the intention. We should give it with grace or don't give it. Be very open about it. Many times, frankly, I'm talking personally, I'm not the one to give like that. People come, I would just very politely say, and that's my, whether you call it a trick or whether you call it, I say, I have my own, what should I say, place where I give on my, and I do, we do it in a very different way. But we generally don't do it to some institutions or something like that. Got it, Raksh?
No, so the question still remains that.
Please ask.
So let's say if someone is giving with a good heart, I mean, he feels like giving, but then back of the mind, he thinks that I'm doing something good, number one. And out of this good, something good will be generated and I want it back. And that is now, not at some later point of time in life or next lifetime, I want it back. Let's say I call upon God to, in the forms of his blessings and whatever good karma, he gives it to me now. Then what is it right? Is it going to fructify or will it be nullified if I hold my expectations along with my giving?
Got it. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
You can hear. I'm getting some very funny, pop-ups in my computer. Anyway, as long as you can hear, I'm happy. All right. The number one is, if you are doing something for somebody, and if you are thinking that I am doing good to somebody, obviously you are doing good to somebody, and you will get good karmas, right? If you are doing something. But if you are doing it with an intent, again and again, I'm repeating the same thing, with an intent that there should be a payoff from that, with an intent that you will get something out of that, my personal feeling is that that is a binding. It is a binding, and it may not fructify immediately. See, now you are asking me a very hypothetical question, that if I am giving, let us say, 1,000 rupees to somebody, and in my mind I am expecting that ye mera kaam hona chahiye, ye main de raha hu. So whether it will happen or not, it can happen. It has happened to so many people. I have personally also experienced that. But I'll tell you something which is very, I don't think I've shared it with anybody. And you're all able to hear me, am I right?
Yes.
Because there are lots of pop-ups happening on my screen. I don't know why. Anyway, as long as you people are listening, I'm just giving you an example that if you have firm conviction and if it is coming from the core of your heart that I am giving this to something or somebody, some poor person, and this should happen instantaneously, it can happen. It can happen. And the example that I said, this was many years before, the Bombay Center had arranged a trip to Hamirpur. And those who had accompanied, those who were here in our group, I don't know, some may have accompanied. There was a big faux pas. Faux pas means we had arranged a separate reservation coach to return from Hamirpur to Mumbai. And all of a sudden, at the platform, we realized that the reservation was not done. And we had a big group with very many old people, 60, 70, like that, age. And there was no way in which we could get inside the already pegged platform. Now I don't know why I'm narrating this, but as your question, and at that time, intuitively from the core, it is as if Baba is saying, you know, there were very poor man. He may be a poor man, he may be a bust, he may be a saint. I do not know. It came to me that I must give charani. Charani at that time was 25 paisa. 25 paisa to this man with a hoping or a longing that somehow the entire group should get into the train and we should get that reservation done, you know, sort of. And I did that. And believe me, it happened. Somehow that particular over there, station master or whatever, he arranged for a separate bogie and we could all get inside this. Now, whether it was a coincidence, whether it came to me, that is why I gave, whatever. So if you're asking me whether it can happen, I would say yes, there is a possibility that it may happen. But it has to come from the real core of your being to do certain things. I generally don't give money to poor and beggars. And I remember once Soumya said, there was one lady sitting, we were both traveling, going to the railway station. And I don't know whether I told her or I gave. I said, again, this was many years back, and we are not the ones to give money. You know, and I told Soumya, give her 10 rupees, 10 or 20, I don't remember. And she was shocked, you know. Why? And I said, I don't know, I just felt like doing it. And I just did it. So when you just feel like doing it from the core of your being, as Baba prompting you to give something to the Baba in that person, and just forget about the episode that you have done it, then that's the correct way one needs to do the charity.
But then you didn't forget about it. You asked that, you know, all the people go in the train.
Yes, I did. No. That was a specific, I would say, a directive to me from within, that if you want this to happen, then you give the charani to this particular person.
Now, if we come to say that there is a science behind it, and we could use it time and over again.
We can. But then again,
we encourage this or discourage this.
Yes, there is a science, I agree. We can use it also, I can agree. But if we are using it for selfish means, then again there is a binding. But if you are using it and just forgetting about it, I remember this after how many years, maybe 40 years, 45 years after the incident that happened, something that you said just now, it clicked and I thought, let me say. So in other words, everything binds in my, let me end this discussion. Everything binds where the platform of your doing is your separative ego. I am the doer. But when you are removed from that I, and if you are following a dictate which you convincingly feel that it's a dictate from some other dimension, let's put it Baba, let's put it whatever, you know, that I am doing it because I just feel intuition, prompted, inner voice to do it, even though it was for a selfish purpose. It was a selfish purpose. I did it and it worked. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, Rakesh.
Yeah.
The bottom line is everything that we do binds. And also everything that we do, as I am not the doer, honestly and sincerely, that I am doing it because Baba is asking me to do it, is Baba is doing through me, then according to my understanding, it does not bind. That's the bottom line.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba dear.
Acha. I wanted to ask you, is there any such thing as postponement of karma? Like if you can't handle your karma at this present stage of your life, or, you know, and it's taken care of and everything straightens out, but you have to face that thing again in the future when things are better off?
I would say yes. I would think yes, that you can, that it can be. That means, in other words, because ultimately karma is in the domain of illusion, time also is in the domain of illusion. And so, yes, they are all both friends. So there may be a shifting of karma, that something which was to happen now is now happening after maybe a little longer time. Because that is what we say to people who have come in Baba's fold. We say that Baba expedites the karma, which means what? Speeds up the karma. which means what? And the Mandli says this. I'm not saying that I am saying. Mandli says, which means what? That those karmas which you were supposed to experience later on in your life or maybe in the next life, Baba is, just fast forwarding it to this life so that you are done with under the nazar and the gaze of Baba. You see, it's like that.
Okay.
So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
Ekta.
Okay, Ekta, go ahead.
Hello, Jai Baba
Yes, dear.
sir.
Jai Baba to you.
I just wanted to ask that if we give, do charity in good faith, but what if that money is not used, say, is misused? Then what will happen? Where will the karma fall?
My understanding is you also become partly responsible for that karma. So that is why this karma business is very, very tricky, very intricate. At least I don't have absolute clarity about it. And I would look at it, I would personally look at it with this way, that I have given it to, but Baba himself said that you give some money to some poor fellow, thinking that he will go and eat, but he has a drink and he beats up his wife. But this is the exact example which Baba gave. Then you are responsible for that because you gave that money. So in the same way, perhaps when you give it to an institute or some NGO or something like that, and if they misuse it, then I personally feel that maybe some part of that karmic whatever is happening may stick to you. But I don't, personally I feel, let us not go too deeply into karmas or too deeply into samskaras, because it is so intricate that nobody can have a real clarity of it. The best is think that it is not you who is doing it, that it is Baba who is doing it. Then if at all it reflects, it will reflect on Baba and not on you, because you are not a giver.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank
That is
you.
why that is the reason why Baba keeps on harping on that you use that limited, separative, self-centric, finite I should be annulled in your life, in your thinking. It is Baba who is speaking, Baba who is listening, Baba who is asking questions, and Baba himself said that is the truth, that is the fact. But because through ignorance you think that you are speaking, you are listening, you are doing this, that's why all these problems come about. So if coming back to a practicality, if you feel like giving it to some institution, NGO, something, just take Baba's name and give it in Baba's name as if Baba is doing it, and forget about the karmic adan pradan, because there is no end to that. You can never really come to a point where you can say, yes, this is the correct thing. Got it?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome. I suppose we've done with today's session.
Yes, sir. Yes, we all done.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Baba. And thanks to all.